one day I showed up to this desk job and I was like, man, I freaking hate this. So I wrote this note on a sticky note and I was like, I got another offer to do something that I love to do, so I quit. And then I left a sticky note on my desk and I walked out. And I didn't tell anybody I was leaving. I just left.
They understand that it actually takes a while to get good at something. Like, that's the ideal person I'm looking for. I don't need someone who already knows how to tint, who has a huge ego, who isn't willing to learn because they think that they've like mastered it.
That's the biggest thing. It's not that I'm worried about like going through the rest of the work and like trying to pick things out of every single window. I'm more upset in the fact that we just lost the customer's trust. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Born to Tint with the Miller Brothers. I appreciate you being here. I'm excited to be here with my co-host, my big brother.
How's it going, everybody? It's a real honor to be here. I'm glad that you're tuning in. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Armando Esquer, AE Jui Jitsu, and of Green Valley Window Tint. Been with us for 3 years now. We lucked out when we got this guy. We have a really cool conversation about his journey in jiu-jitsu, a little bit about how he came on board with us and the timing of that. Talk about teaching and learning and how we've ramped up our training due to the fact that we've actually kind of leveraged his ability to teach from instructing jiu-jitsu. Talk a little fantasy football, kids, life, kind of all that stuff. So make sure you subscribe and check out this conversation with Armando Esquer.
Wife calling. I mean, that happened during our first video shoot for like the first Facebook ads we did. We were doing paint protection on a blue car. And I was like in the middle of doing the takes. First time we were working with this company. And I was in the middle of doing the take, like squeegeeing out the hood while talking. Wife called. And like I saw it was like my wife. So I sent it to voicemail. And usually it's like, hey, I can't talk right now. I'll call her like in a second.
Yeah.
Instant callback. As soon as I got that, I hit it again. I was like, that's not good. Finished what we were doing, and like my sister came over with the front. She goes, "You need to take this," and then just been an accident.
Oh,
yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I took my pouch out. I was like, all right, so Brendan, you can go ahead and finish up on this. I go deal with some stuff. She ended up getting T-boned, but it was one of those things that's where I will silence things, but at the same time, I still want a little notification because if something's going bad, and that can happen with anything with the shop or personal family, but at the same time, like. Someone calls me like 2 or 3 times in a row. Obviously, you're trying to really get a hold of it.
Yeah. I can imagine that's, especially now being a dad.
How is being a dad?
It has been amazing. Everyone always says like, it's like love that you'll never be able to like understand until you actually have a child. So now I understand what everyone's talking about, And like, I think so far, obviously like the coolest thing, or not so far, but the coolest thing or the most surreal thing was like actually the birth, like being in there and like, it was like so, man, it's like undescribable. And like, I'm still like so blown away. Like every time it was insane. And I was like holding my wife's leg. Like I was right there, like in the trenches, like.
No, I was staring at the door. I was like, I'm good. Just hold here. Got it.
No,
let me know when the kid's out, please.
I was there. I was like, you got this, The coach in me just came out and I'm like, let's dip him. This baby ain't got nothing on you. So.
Oh, it's the best. It was kind of weird for me. I missed Brooks. So Brooks, I was coming home from Iraq and I literally landed in Kuwait on my way home in time to get on the phone and call and see what was going on. And 30 minutes later while I'm on the phone, I'm like hearing it happen. So I got to at least like be on the phone. That was pretty cool. But then when London came, it was like I actually got to be there. And yeah, that was like, even though I was already a dad, I had missed that. And it was pretty wild. Yeah. And up until, I've got 5 kids now. Up until the last one, it's like, it's every time it hits you the same. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things that something that everyone talks about, and until you have a child, and then you understand like all the funny memes and stuff when you see someone like, well, I have a dog, so it's kind of like the same. You're like, not. It's like I get what you're saying. I remember my first dog. It was great. I loved my dog, It's not
Yeah,
near
yeah.
the same.
exactly. Yeah, you can throw a dog in a kennel, but you can't put your baby in the kennel.
You might have some thoughts here and there about it, just thoughts. But yeah, no, it's you gotta. Right now, I'd say really enjoy the fact that he's not mobile. If you hear it from everyone,
Oh,
you
yeah.
probably heard it from everyone.
Yeah,
You will look back and go, oh, that was nice.
yeah, because you could just hold him right now. Just hold him, and he's
Well, then you get to the point where you like, you can like, I'm gonna set you down right there, and you can go do something real quick in another room, walk back, and he is still sitting.
yeah.
There, he hasn't moved. Perfect.
Yeah.
Like as soon as they start moving, man, it's nonstop. But that's also a blast too. Like, I talked about with my wife, like we're gonna end up bringing Luke in because one thing I caught from that when you were on the story was that your inner coach kicked out. So I'm excited to drop Luke off to start running, and because I mean that's I think it'll be a fun experience for him. When it comes to the coaching though, is that one thing like because I know there's a difference between being taught something and then coaching something. You just have a passion for that because in my mind, like for jiu-jitsu, like you have to develop that skill. Like kind of where'd that come from?
I just think that I love to like see like when I show somebody something and then they pick it up or they do it and like it feels so like accomplished, it's an accomplishment or the inner like it brings like a joy in my heart to see like stuff like that. So with anything, it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu is a thing that I fell in love with originally. And my mentor Walter, I just saw the way that he lived his life and how he came up and he lived his life by jiu-jitsu, and I was like, that's something that I want to accomplish, or I looked up to him, so that's something that I wanted to do. So when I had the opportunity to do jiu-jitsu, like coach and teach, I like jumped on it, immediately.
Just one of those things that just connected. Like it just when you got into that world, it instantly just like felt like I'm
very much so. And I think that it is so good for you. It's such a good like influence. It's been a huge like positive influence on my life. I don't know exactly what type of person I would be without jiu-jitsu. You can fall easily into the wrong paths, fall easily hanging out with the wrong people, and then one thing leads to another, and you look by and 10 years have gone by and you don't know what you're doing with your life, right? So it's like jiu-jitsu definitely helped with all of that stuff. Just the right people, never like putting myself into bad situations or hanging out with the wrong group of guys, and just having positive male influences in my life, which I think is important.
Yeah, no, having trained now myself for 5 years, I mean, that's how we met each other. I train at Chris and Mylan's gym, which is, they got their black belts from Walter also. The community aspect of it is definitely a huge draw, especially coming out of the military. For me, it's the closest thing. Being lucky that I work with my family business, that's nice, especially having got out of the military and worked corporate a little bit. But the closest thing I found by far to that community has been the jiu-jitsu community. Like the amount of people I've made really deep relationships with, including you, in the last 5 years is kind of wild. And I can definitely see in myself, in my kids, and everybody that I've interacted with, like how positive influence it is on kind of what Ricky was talking about, the learning and teaching. Because right out the gate, even as a brand new white belt, you're kind of teaching also, right? Like when you get taught a move and you get paired up with somebody else, and both people most of the time don't remember what was just taught, even though you were watching completely intently. You could be teamed up with a purple belt, a blue belt, whatever, as a brand new white belt. And maybe there was something in the instruction that actually stuck with you, and you're encouraged to actually make the corrections with your training partner. And so you're kind of teaching right out the gate, which you always hear like the best way to learn something is to teach it. So I think that's one of the things that kind of sucks anybody that gets sucked into jiu-jitsu. And in my opinion, it was a big deal for me because I love to learn. And I know that I'm going to learn faster by teaching, So even brand new. When did you actually go like full on, you were like teaching classes? Did that happen like at Walters? What belt were you at? And like, when did you start doing your own?
So I started teaching at Walters originally. Like I think what I was doing was like it was like a morning class that I would teach like once a week for a while. I was doing that for a while, um, and then I would just mostly help out a lot with the kids classes at Walters, and the adult classes. And then when I was a brown belt, I would say like maybe a year into my brown belt, an opportunity came along. Walter was like, "Hey man, um, I have this guy. He wants to have like a jiu-jitsu program at his gym. Or he already had one, but I guess the guy that he had there at the moment or in that time was not working out with him. So he was looking for someone. He wanted Walter, but Walter couldn't do it. He's just so busy. So he asked me, and I first was reluctant because I feel like at the time I wasn't training as much. I was kind of out of shape a little bit, but I knew that it was something that I really loved, and I knew that it was a good way to like kind of get my feet wet. And I think at the time it was like maybe like 2 or 3 days a week. It wasn't even like a full schedule of teaching. So I just did it. I was like, all right, let's do it. And then too, I think when he first asked me, I had a job that like super crazy. So I had this job that I didn't like, and it was like his computer desk job. And he had asked me about it, and I was like, I don't think I can do it because like my work schedule here, and it doesn't work with my schedule. And he's like, okay. He was like, well, think about it, and then we'll see. And I was like, all right. So then I think one day I showed up to this desk job, and I was like, man, I freaking hate this. So I wrote this note on like on a sticky note, and I was like something to the extent it was like, I got another offer to do something that I love to do. So I quit, and then I left a sticky note on my desk, and I walked out. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody I was leaving. I just left. And at that time, I didn't have another job. So I was like, all right. So I signed up for like Uber. So I started like driving Uber. Then I went to like waiting tables at night for a little bit, and then like teaching during the day, or excuse me, like waiting tables during the day and teaching at night. So I started doing that, and then eventually we went like full schedule teaching, and that was probably like 5 years ago that all that happened. And then COVID happened, which was not cool, well, actually, I think it was good. It was a blessing in disguise because it forced us to really decide what we wanted to do, because we were at a point where we were like, okay, after COVID happened, or after this, do we go back and start teaching again, or do we not? Because I was really kind of at the point where maybe I didn't want to do it anymore. And then everything started back up again. We started training, and then we moved into our own place. We left where we were. Me and the gentleman who was running the other gym, he kind of had a dispute, and then I felt like I had enough people that were like loyal to me that would like follow me. And we left, and we've made our own place, and now we've been there for about 2 years. And this year our big goal is like to try to move into a bigger space. So yeah, man, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey for sure.
What was the initial spark for jiu-jitsu? There has to be something, like watching mixed martial arts on TV or something, or like it's got to be something that sparks jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so it was so crazy. I was probably in high school, maybe like a sophomore in high school, and I had this girlfriend, and she invited me over to her house to watch some fights. Obviously, I knew what like UFC was, but I wasn't like super aware of it. So we're watching the fights, having a good time, and she has this cousin who lived with her at the time, and we were watching it. And we're like, dude, this looks cool, man. Like we should totally try this out. And then so we watched the UFC fights. It was BJ Penn versus GSP. I think it was the first one. And then that night we were literally in the backyard, like beating each other up, like just like freaking just going crazy, like wrestling, hitting each other. Like it was, and then later on, like that was on the weekend. That Monday came up. We were like, went to go look for a school. We found this Taekwondo school that was by our house that actually had jiu-jitsu. So we did a jiu-jitsu class, and have not stopped training ever since. So It was just by luck, just to watch the UFC, and then like the initial was I wanted to do like fight MMA. I was like, we should just be MMA fighters. Like this looks so much fun. And then we found a jiu-jitsu school, and then I did a little MMA, but fell in love with jiu-jitsu in the pursuit of wanting to fight MMA.
That was gonna be my question. Brian, professionally, if I'm not mistaken, I know you did. I think you had your last fight like just before you came.
I had 5 amateur MMA fights. I won 4 of them. I lost my last one, and that was it. Called it a day.
Yeah, good. How'd you lose?
Split decision. It was a super close fight. It was awesome, man. It was like the main event of like the event that was going on that night. So many people there supporting me, and it was a great environment and a great experience, and a really close decision loss. But yeah, I love jiu-jitsu a lot, and the head trauma kind of scares me, and taking a lot of shots in my life, So I decided that wasn't the best gamble for me to take at the age that I am and stuff like that, and just loving jiu-jitsu more than like getting punched in the face.
I look forward to start training it, which I'm gonna have to start training because I've only had a teensy bit of training. I mean, I stopped. I got into my running thing, but I know as soon as I get my son going, if he actually grabs hold of it, I have to. Otherwise, by the time he's like he's gonna destroy me.
Also, you said that if I had more no-gi classes that you would come, and I specifically changed my schedule just for you. So
I don't know why you don't want to train in the gi though. The gi is so. I still got the time. It's dedication. It's. I would assume that jiu-jitsu has solidified for you that it takes time to get good at something. Like, do you think that something can be mastered?
I mean, no, because there's always going to be evolution of something, right? So,
and that is pretty much like that's jiu-jitsu. Like you get into it, yes, you go through the belt system, you get to black, but when you get to black, it's like it just never ends because there's a guy that could be 15 years past your journey, and everything he's learned in that 15 years, like. Yeah, you're in deep waters. You're already out. And it's like you're a black belt. You could destroy the majority of everybody. But now there's a whole class of killers that absolutely can do the same thing to you.
So why is that stopping you from wanting to do gi if it can't be mastered anyway? It's the pursuit of doing it.
Because I would say no-gi is more practical when it comes down to it, I would think, or it's
for self-defense purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that I have the time. Like, I'm not going to stop my running. I want to continue my running. I think adding no-gi with the right training partners, the right coach and everything, like it's going to have the cardio benefit. That's the one thing I loved when I was doing jiu-jitsu was cardio is like, you ain't going to do anything that in my eyes, that's going to spike your cardio as hard as jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to kill each other, trying to choke each other out. Like you were giving everything. It's one thing I did love about jiu-jitsu is when you get to roll and you get to that free time, you get to go all out. And yes, you still can get injured, but the likelihood is a lot less, especially if you're going with someone that you know and trust. And like you're going full bore. By the time you're done, you're soaked.
Yeah,
dripping like every time. That's the only thing I think I've trained into where at the end of the class, you're soaked. Like it doesn't matter if you put 110% or put 90%, you're still getting pressured the entire time. You are soaked in sweat. I did have a plan when he first when he first got his own place. I wasn't gonna start. I just never did it. I wish I would have. I was going to start training with him. And then
like Lexi did training.
Hey, let's roll. And then just like surprise you with like a year's worth of experience where I could have caught you because you thought I wasn't doing anything. Well, I almost did it at Jocko's.
No, you did not.
You said if you didn't know how to get out of guillotine, but you did.
Exactly.
As if you had more training.
Exactly.
Well, if I would have known how to counter that because I would have done a little training, maybe I would have surprised you.
You better start going 4 or 5 days a week.
Well, that ship sailed. I know that. But that's okay. I went the running out, which is fine. But at the same time, like I don't think.
No, honestly, though, you could catch up me. If I'm only doing 1 or 2 days a week, and yeah, you're doing 2 or 3, it would get competitive after a couple of years, but it would take a couple of years.
It takes time. And no, I got nothing but time when it comes down to.
But as soon as I see that there's any chance, I'm gonna up my game. 3 or 4 or 5 days a week.
That's how you know you're getting any sort of better. Is like if all of a sudden, like when you're rolling with better guys, like it gets harder. You're like, what's going on? Like,
oh, that's the one thing. That was probably my favorite thing about training was I had one guy in the class that would like destroy. I got him the top one. Like he started, I think, like 2 months before I did, but he was a high school wrestler, like state champion level wrestler. And like I did find the little time I was spending is that you knew when you were going against a wrestler because they know how to throw their weight amazingly, especially someone who's been wrestling their whole life. I rolled with two kids that one of them I knew, same thing, wrestled from I knew little kid up through high school, and do know how to control. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to roll through, and then all of a sudden I'm on my back. I'm like, what just happened? Like
Wrestlers,
it's
scary.
Yeah, wrestlers are they come in and they're instantly better right off the jump because they know how to stay on top. They don't want to be on their back. I think the downfall to that sometimes is those they don't develop their guard as quick as they could because they don't ever let themselves be on their back. And it's like,
Yeah.
there's like that little bit of,
They're stuck in their ways,
they're safe and they can stay on top well, but
which ultimately is like kind of what you want to do anyway.
exactly. So especially if you're looking for real world self-defense or MMA, like,
Especially in MMA, the game is different. It's so much more just like ground and pound heavy, and the guys are more aware of the stuff, like, you know what I mean? Because before it was, they're just kind of unaware and not cognizant of the threat. They're the threat that's available, and they would get caught. And now
everybody knows a little jiu-jitsu. Everyone understands the importance of wrestling. And even the rules changed from the early days, right? Like the Gracies helped set up the UFC, and they had no time limit for a reason. Because ultimately, that's where jiu-jitsu is going to perform the best. Stay alive as long as possible. Stay safe. And if you do end up on your back, survive, you're eventually going to catch somebody that gets tired. 5-minute round, each round starts standing.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's why jiu-jitsu is the most effective martial art, is because it's a survival. It's not, you're not striking or trying to hurt your opponent necessarily. You're just trying to survive until you're able to either get away safely or help to arrive. So I think that's why jiu-jitsu is so important and useful in like any real world like situations, you know?
Yeah, and that's the conversation. That's a longer conversation to have when you hear people say that jiu-jitsu doesn't work in a street fight or whatever. It's like, well, you hear like at the Jocko muster, if I can control the distance and something's looking like it's going to become a fight, now I'm more trained and capable right now than I've been in my whole life to feel like if somebody's untrained, they don't really have a chance unless they're 50 pounds bigger than me and just gigantic. But I'm not going to engage. Like if I don't let you get close enough to strike me, like someone who really understands jiu-jitsu in my mind as a self-defense mechanism, I'm just going to run away. Like I don't want to fight. Like ultimately I've been choked out and submitted by people that are 40 pounds lighter than me and just been training longer enough times that if I saw that person in plain clothes, you'd have no idea how capable they are. So like, even though I feel more confident right now in my ability to fight, I'm like the least likely to fight I've been in my entire life. Somebody wants to try to start a fight with me, I'm going to disengage and get away from it because no idea what that person's background is.
Exactly. And I think jiu-jitsu does teach you that a little bit, humbles you in a way that you think you may be like tough or, better than other people, but jiu-jitsu will humble you so quick. And it's just so like, it's eye-opening, it's very, very eye-opening.
And then it spills out to everything else in your life, which is actually like something I wanted to make sure we talked about is like it opened. Actually, you were the first person that we've hired from like my circle of people I've met through jiu-jitsu, but it was like instantly like the light bulb hit even when the idea of like, hey, this person's looking for a job. You interested? And I was like, black belt? Look, oh yeah, let's do this interview right now. Like, how humble is this person going to be? How good are they going to be at learning something? And they understand that it actually takes a while to get good at something. Like that's the ideal person I'm looking for. I don't need someone who already knows how to tint, who has a huge ego, who isn't willing to learn because they think because they've been doing it for 3 or 4 years that they've like mastered it. And it's like, that's not realistic. And unless you've actually had that type of experience in your life, like practicing jiu-jitsu, like 4 or 5 years into jiu-jitsu, somebody new comes in with no skills, you feel pretty confident that you can get them. But the next round that you're going to roll is somebody who's been training 4 or 5 years longer than you, and you physically get to feel like, oh, I've got no chance.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference, and it takes long to actually really get good at something. So that's been like a huge eye-opener for me in hiring, is like, that's what is actually going to determine if somebody's successful or not. and you've trained up faster than anybody we've ever had ever. And you're just an amazing person to work with. So it's like, I don't know, for me, jiu-jitsu is not just the defense, and it can change the way you look at the entire world.
Yeah, 100%.
That was my, like, when he came to me at first and told me that, like, about you, but you're a black belt, and I was like, sounds perfect. So he knows what hard work is, and like, knows what dedication is. Like, it takes what, on average, 10 years, would you say? If you're
training consistently, without any injuries and all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's like, so if you're healthy and you're training consistently, 10 years to get a black belt. So that's dedication. To me, it was already I knew that I think we're really good. I mean, my other thing that I was very curious about was training someone. You were already training at the time. That was your goal when we sat down and we talked, was like, I want to get to the point where I have my own place. I want to make my place bigger and bigger, and I want to keep training people. That was my biggest draw, is I know how to tint. I'm a shitty trainer. Like, I think I've gotten better over the past couple of years, but like, at the point when we hired you, I would take it as we both were, in my eyes, weren't that good of trainers. Like, we knew what we were doing. We're good at what we did. But teaching someone how to do something is its own trait by itself. And at least knowing how to break down the material to the person. Like, the one thing I got from you guys talking earlier about, like, how you're teaching someone, I didn't even think about it this way. Jiu-jitsu, 2 white belts. Yes, you're slowly learning the techniques, but also you're slowly learning how to train somebody as you make your progression through the belts, because you're doing it with your training partner as you guys progress with each other, depending on where I'm assuming what school you're going to or anything like that. But you are slowly being taught a technique. Also, you're slowly being taught the patience it takes to actually try to train somebody, and the small little nuances in a conversation or how to point something out. That was my biggest draw. I was being selfish. I wanted to use you for training, like, because you already had so many more years on us when it comes down to it, in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think, those are great motives, because I think since then the people that we've hired are getting there faster than I think I did, right? Like,
yeah,
like, I think, and no fault to you guys, but I think I didn't touch a window, like, in terms of like tinting it for like the first maybe like 4 or 5 months, you know what I mean? And like, for me, as soon as someone gets there, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna prep this real quick, or you're gonna prep it. I'm gonna stick it, or I'm gonna tack it and cut it. You're gonna squeegee and card this, and you're gonna squeegee and card and squeegee and card. So at least it gets them in that, like, those motions and those reps, like, I want someone touching it, so they're like, oh, okay, this is exciting.
See, the small breakdown, that by itself is genius. You're teaching them small nuance stuff. That's the most important stuff. Peeling the tint, sticking it on the window, that's not hard. Lighting up the top, that's fine. Squeegeeing out, getting the correct tack pattern, and then if you're cutting after you cut it, then even finishing off edges, mastering those 2 things. You get those 2 things done, getting the reps on the other stuff, pick up like that.
Yeah.
And like, that's, see, like I said, I was very, very intrigued, and how the timing and everything happened, thankfully we were able to bring you on. And from what it looks like in my eyes, it was the growth in that department. The training, a lot of it has come from you. Like you said, like, that different aspect of how we've technically changed that department too, is put that person in a situation instantly. So getting those reps in those areas, and then slowly build you up. So no, it ended up, I would say, it worked out wonderfully.
Well, what's funny is I don't know, I have a hard time not comparing everything to jiu-jitsu now. In some way, shape, or form, I can find a way that, like, there's a lesson that's been learned in there. But what's funny is I kind of think back, and it makes sense with Jocko's whole thing on, he's been in jiu-jitsu a long time, and what a great leader he was in the military. All of the training in the military is train the trainer. If you go, like, I did the Army Combatives program, level 1 and 2, those programs are, the test at the end is being able to actually teach all the moves you just learned. Because you're supposed to go back to your unit, because only a handful of people go to those classes. And now you do instructions with your unit, even though you've only done a week of training. The whole training is based off of learning how to teach those moves that you just learned. And it's so efficient to, like, every time you bring someone in to train somebody, as they acquire skills, just like a new white belt or a blue belt that has more skills than their training partner on the day, is teaching, like someone who's been with us 4 months and we bring someone new in, they're instantly already, because of that culture that we've created, that you've been a huge part of, is they're already know that it's my job to start training this person all the skills I've already acquired. So now the person with more skill can focus more on the higher end skills of everybody at the same time. And it's like everybody's training everybody, and you actually have some structure to it.
Yeah, and then it feels good too when you're like new, and then someone newer comes in, and then you show them something. You're like, oh, this is how you do it, right? And then they're like, oh, cool. Then you like feel so accomplished, or it feels good, you know, when you're new and someone newer comes in, and then you show them something, right? And that's I think the way that you build, you know, good relationships too, or just good rapport and like with your team.
Yeah, and you feel it big time in jiu-jitsu. I love now when I'm a blue belt right now and the verge of getting my purple belt. I just haven't been going very much because I've been running a lot.
Running away.
And
Purple belt.
It's like I kind of don't want it.
Of course, that's everyone. Yeah.
Even the blue belt, when I got it, I was like, oh, this sucks now. Because now
embrace it.
Now every roll with a white belt, they're coming for your head, you know. So it's like, but I actually really enjoy picking out lower belts as training partners now when I go to class, and I actually enjoy the fact that okay, I've seen this move taught 20 times now, and I kind of understand it at a deeper level. What are the things that really matter? And show them the different little grip exchange. Or, hey, when you're doing a triangle, like most people have their knees all flared out. Like, just pinch your knees together and see how much tighter that triangle gets. Like little subtle things like that. And trying to think that way when I teach window tint now is kind of the same way. Like, we do so many things that are little nuanced details that when you're teaching someone, sometimes you forget to tell them. But like, okay, what am I doing right now that I'm not actually explaining the angle of the blade when I'm making the cut, you know, using your second hand? Like, I just told them, okay, now you're going to cut this side. But there's like 15 other things that just happen in making that cut that you got to make sure you break down in detail, because every little detail matters. Same thing in jiu-jitsu, right? You get someone in a triangle, like you would think, okay, it's over. But no, if you miss one or two little details, they can escape pretty easily.
Yeah, that's the difference between finishing it or not finishing it.
Yeah,
you know,
that was the part I think that we probably sucked the most at when it came to training. Is we're so used to being in our element of our vernacular in our industry and talking to each other about certain things. Oh yeah, guys, we're just gonna roll this up and we're gonna drop roll it, and it's like, yeah, we're so used to just going like, oh, you just cut it, and not explain that those small little detail increments in between make the biggest difference. I think we got really lucky being taught, I guess, as kids. It is just I guess my dad was this where his not his micromanaging, but his attention to detail and how he would try to hit home on every little nuance thing. That was one thing he was really good at. It was annoying, but in hindsight, I look back at it and I'm like, I'm so happy he did that, because now I'm at a point where I realize how important all that was. And he was just refining those certain fine motor skills to where it just happens the way it's supposed to, you know? So it's, the comparison between the two is, at least comparison in like teaching, it's like nonstop, like all the little incremental things.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially going from different windows to windows. And when you're rolling with them, as soon as going from different person,
yeah,
one has their niche thing they like doing. I think with you, last time I rolled with you was arm bars.
So I'm all over the place. I might go through phases, but you just might have made it easy to get them.
Something to make your neck easy?
No, I don't know. I feel like the more you train, the more you don't. I don't know. Some people do definitely develop a style where they go into certain movements, but you kind of start realizing just take what's available.
Yeah.
Flow with, like, I'm not hunting for that. I had a period of time where I was just going for darces left and right, and I was getting good at them, but like that would be the only thing I'd ever go for. And then you realize you just left, like the person was actually giving you something else, and you just forced the darce when they were giving you an armbar.
Yeah, you see that tunnel vision.
Yeah. So getting away from that tunnel vision definitely helps big time.
Describe what the different feelings in my eyes from, because I know you've competed. I'm assuming in jiu-jitsu you have won before. Like, have you won any tournaments in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So describe the difference between winning a tournament and then having one of your students win a tournament.
Oh man, that's my students winning is like way more, feels so much better. One, I'm not as tired when they win. So that's a good one. But for them, like the joy is way different than me winning my own match, you know, because to see them like go out there and do their whatever their game is, or even if they go and they have like a bad start and they kind of come back and win, and it's something that I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade that feeling for anything else. Like that is, you know what I mean? Other than getting married and having my child, then my students winning is probably up there and feeling good. You know, it's something that you can't describe either, unless you know you've been there and you help them to win or help, you know, in some way. So, and then there are guys that I have a few guys that compete a lot, and yeah, they win a lot, and it feels so great, you know, to just watch them win and, you know, accomplish that.
Well, so that leads me into, because I know this year we're going to be doing a flat class 10 off when it comes down to it, to go to the 10 offs. And we're making sure that we're taking someone from the flat class department this year. I would say you are on the favorite side to probably win that.
Yeah, that's my goal. I want to win that thing. It looks so cool.
Well, I'm excited to take it, because thankfully I've already punched my ticket.
Yeah, no, it actually makes me kind of think more, that because we're right now developing the program to actually do a school to teach people architectural, which you're going to be a part of, obviously. It's actually same feeling I get like when we've trained somebody up and they're able to make a living and able to go out and handle a job, and you don't have to like awesome. This is a skill that's going to be with this person forever. Doing that outside of the shop and actually helping other business owners out there, you know, add architectural window tint maybe to their existing automotive window tint shop right now. And then, you know, I'm excited for that next step of the journey in seeing other people have success with something that's going to like meaningfully impact their life and make them more money. Not saying like competing in jiu-jitsu is not doing that, but all the things we just talked about, like building that success on the mats, is going to help you be more confident in the rest of your life, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But like even thinking about it that way has me super excited. Like I can't wait to have success stories of people that have gone back and implemented, here's the processes I learned, here's how to actually go sell an architectural job and know what I'm talking about against the competitors. Like that kind of knowledge, pushing it forward, is another trait I feel like jiu-jitsu's inspired me to want to like do more of. Not just in jiu-jitsu, but in business, you know?
No, I definitely look forward to that. It's something that I'd say our industry lacks dramatically is, I wouldn't say proper training. There's training, but
there's a lot popping up for auto, right?
There's a lot for auto, but there's more outlets for people to go to. And it's not even to say like, oh, we're the best, you have to come train with us. Because I used to do like certifications through dealerships to where you had to be certified through that dealership. And then they kind of realized that doesn't really make sense, because the person takes the certification, they might go work somewhere else, and that shop claims, oh, we're so.
Yeah.
It's like,
causes confusion.
You have one legitimate company. Yeah, I was certified with another company. Beyond that, just having an actual school, especially for architectural, for flat glass, we really don't have that much of it. So it's like the constant gripe in the industry is that we don't have labor. And it's like, well, you don't have shops that want to invest the time into the person, which is understandable. It takes time to train somebody, you know, and it takes resources. And sometimes you just get so busy and you get so into it that it's like, I can't. Like, I think we held off from training people for a little bit just because we were just the main installers. And it's hard to bring someone on. And that was probably our biggest flaw to begin with. When we first brought you on is, we didn't get you on a window for like 3 to 4 months. Mistake. Should have had you on a window much quicker. But it's just like we get into the day-to-day grind of like we just getting after it. Yeah. It's like also the same thing that I've talked about in the past, like having the problem of trying to be perfect before implementing. And it's like that doesn't exist. You're not going to be able to try to achieve perfection without actually trying the skill.
Yeah, because that's where you're going to see where your flaws are. You know,
the biggest thing is pointing out past that. So one thing like I've always said, like, I don't care if you mess something up. Just know where you messed it up. If you got a question of why you messed it up, let us know. So we can try to explain the why it got messed up, and then peel the film off, retry it, do it again. It's the only way you're going to learn to do it. is try again and again and again until it clicks. Like,
Yeah, nothing hurts more than peeling that film off.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird like difference in jiu-jitsu, right? You're on the mat, you get caught in an armbar, you tap. Okay, cool. It didn't cost you anything, but maybe like a little bit of hit to the ego. But like if you're there, you should expect that to happen. Whereas with film, it's like that just costs $50 in film or whatever. That's like
And time, like you gotta go get the box, you gotta cut the thing, you gotta do all, and you're
no, yeah, it's definitely one of those. I mean, in the shop, it's one of those things where it's like if all of a sudden you have to scrap a back window or windshield, it's like, all right, piece could have costed anywhere from like say $50 to $80, whatever film it might be, but the time I just lost because now I just spent an hour or so doing this window. That's an hour wasted. I got to spend probably another hour doing this window again, and then I still have work that's lined up behind that, and it's like, oh. And then you got to kind of get from behind that. Same thing that happened in the house too. For me, I go in, I count panes, and I start doing math in my head, depending on how many jobs are in the day. Is all right? On average, how fast do I need to tint this window? And is it around expectation, or is this isn't happening? To at least know where I have a comfortable, like a little time cushion.
Yeah.
Where if I do like 8 minutes panel or 5 minutes panel for this whole house, I'm gonna get done this time. But I'm gonna pad an extra hour and a half because there might be something in it behind the piece of tint that I gotta get it, fish it out, or I spend a little extra time cleaning one window because maybe I have a little bit more silicone on it. Because that's the other things that come into play too. Is like you got to look at your window system, see how much time it's going to take to actually properly clean it. But yeah, as soon as you scrap one of those pieces, like yeah, okay, there goes 8 minutes to that window. But I gotta spend another 8 minutes sitting it, and I gotta spend the time going to cut the pattern.
Yep.
That's the biggest time suck. It's like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, definitely. It's and especially now that we're showing up with the patterns cut too, like we're not even bringing the rolls.
Yeah, you're not bringing rolls in unless you absolutely need it.
You got to go grab it and cut it. And the time is a pain.
Yeah, but if anything, it makes you a more refined tinter in my eyes, because you sure
you don't make those mistakes.
If you lead with quality, this is like actually what I was just thinking about is. As a window tinter, I'm sure you're this way now too. If I go anywhere in public, a business, 100%. Anywhere, I'm looking at windows. Like we were just at Texas Day Brazil for like our Christmas party, and there was some windows on there that I'm looking at that I was like, we didn't tint this, did we? No, we definitely didn't tint this. I was like, okay, it doesn't look like it. But I can see how windows are left like that because people are crunched for time and they're trying to make money and they're making bad decisions. But they're not thinking long term. Like if you don't have that culture built in of quality first over everything, like, hey, we're gonna have to burn the time because we're not leaving that up. Like it's coming down, we're redoing it no matter what, because this customer actually seeing the quality of our work and then being so impressed that they then give us referrals is a huge deal. And people are short-sighted sometimes. I think that explains the majority of the crap tint jobs you see out there is just people are just, all right, I don't got time to fix it, and hopefully the person doesn't see it. And then they get away with it 60% of the time or however often they do, and they're not thinking about how many referrals they just lost because they actually made sure they put out quality.
Yeah, but it aligns with their business, to them, their business practice. That's the client they're going after. They are more dependent on that, unfortunately, 60 to 80%. I'd say 60 to 75% of the people that are just going to be like, and it is unfortunate because then it impacts that, in my eyes, the clientele that I'm going to say that we're trying to go after is I want the clientele that's understands like, hey, you're $100 more, but I know what I'm getting with you, or however much it is more. Like, and it's not saying, I mean, we try to be as competitive as possible with pricing. We're not trying by any means pull sheet over one's head and like on pricing. We're just trying to make the huge profits. We're pretty competitive with pricing, but at the same time, like, we aren't going to be the cheapest because I pay my guys really well because I want them to take their time. I don't want them to leave anything in your window. I want it to be perfect, and that ends up costing. It's in any industry in my eyes, even like the home building industry. Like I witnessed it when I bought my second house. Like my first house was built in 2010, so that was just off of the housing market crash. In 2010, I think sales were starting to pick up a little bit, but like they were giving houses away. They were giving incentives. They were trying to do whatever they can to get you to buy a house. So I never it's either I was just so young and naive and didn't really look at the home in that manner that I looked at my second one I bought, and when I was able to sell that one and buy one in 2018, it took them 3 years to finish the hit list of fixing things in my home. Now, yes, they lost about 8 months to COVID. I'll give them that. But still, even before COVID, I just get in the runaround with everything. If I would have truthfully walked my house barefoot like I should have, I know now, if I ever were to move again now, I would start the same way with the last house. I told them, hey, I'm not trying to be picky, but just this is going to be my home for a long time. And I want to make sure things are just done correctly. So,
Of course.
if and the same thing happens to us, customers will let us know. And I get what they're saying because I do the same thing. If I would have walked my house before I closed and got my keys, I would have told them, you go ahead and rip all that out and redo it. Because after my son was born, for me, he was not the best of sleepers. So we came up with a routine where I'd get home, I'd eat, go to sleep for 5 hours, wake up, and I'd take the midnight shift. And then it'd just be let me try to get him to sleep so I can get some more sleep. And I would start walking. And I found so many tiles that were just set so wrong. And it's not so much me just being picky at my house because we're in people's homes all day long. And I have my shoes off in people's homes all day long on tile work. And I've never felt tile that bad in my eyes. It's just little subtle stuff all over the place. If I would have felt that at the beginning, if I would say, you guys go and gut my house and redo it. At the point when I noticed it, we were already in the home. I looked at my wife. I was like, how much do you want to push this issue? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I could tell them I want the whole house redone, but we have to pack the whole house. We have to find somewhere to live, and we have a newborn. And she's like, yeah, that's not happening. Because I would have went beyond the fact yeah, go ahead and have an inspector come out. Because they came out to begin with, I found 50 tiles. We came out, we have 12. They came in, chipped out the tile. I went into my garage and was just organizing stuff in my garage. Brittany was out with Luca. She took him to her parents' house. We came back. She brought lunch. We walk inside. And I hadn't, my fault for not walking in. So unfortunately, just trusting that, hey, you're going to cover all my stuff. You're ripping tile out of my house. I watched my wife's head detach from her body and spin. I just turned her around and said, go back to your parents. Just leave. I got this. And then I ended up, after they finally, I was like, just whatever you guys pulled out, leave, and just replace that. And then when they were starting to wipe things down, they're wiping down my counter and stuff with rags, and they're just wiping on the floor. I was like, good, it's good, just leave. I spent the next 7 hours cleaning my house. I had to rip everything apart because grout dust was on everything. I had to rip absolutely everything apart. And I got that point when it really got down to that. It took me so long to replace it because I didn't want the house because to skip those small steps of covering certain things up and just respect my house a little bit is what I care about. That's just, they relied on the majority of that community in my eyes, or majority of home builders will just be 60% be it's fine. I'm not worried about the tile. I'm not worried about it.
And then it takes all the time to, that's what they're banking on. They're banking on you not. They're like, oh, we'll leave it. And then hopefully they don't want to take the time to push back.
Literally, that's what they pushed me into. I had gaps in my baseboards, and they're like, oh, the house is moving. I'm like, house doesn't move a quarter inch. You literally just filled it with silicone. But it was just the constant of having to schedule times and then having the manager come out. If I got to the point, I was just hey, just seal my grout and yo, we're good. And I'll replace that stuff eventually myself. This is eating up too much of my time, eating up too much of my wife's time. We're good. And they kind of beat me into submission. I was like, yeah, whatever. What do I need to sign? Be alone.
Yeah.
The house is still standing. I'm fine with this. But, it's, for me, I try to, as a company, try to strive to be that company that's going to provide the work to where we don't have, where there is something found. And we do take those extra steps, cover stuff up, and try to provide the best quality experience. Like I said, material-wise, the main reason why I had those spaces in my baseboard is they got cut short. They walked it in, they set it down there.
And that's the only way to get better, just because then it happens. And then the next time you're like, all right, I know what mistake I made. So I'm going to do my best to not let that mistake happen again, and if it does, it does. And that you just got to figure out 100 ways to not do that mistake. You know what I mean? That's what you have to do.
Yeah, and then that builds the referrals, which is everything. You make the one customer that catches something you try to get away with. Who knows how much business you just lost? You could have lost, your next big job just because of you trying to cut the corner on one little thing. Because now they're at a point where well, I liked everything, That's the biggest thing. It's not that I'm worried about a client going through the rest of the work and like trying to pick things out of every single window. I'm more upset in the fact that we just lost the customer's trust because they trusted us and then they just found something in their eyes that's blatant. That's just like, you just trying to get away with this. Like, I'm good. I don't want to refer you or I can still trust you anymore.
Well, and then you've got how many other people out there that have gone through experiences like you went through with the tile, right? Or I just had issues with my house having contractors in. Then you have somebody come in that's the polar opposite of that and just completely takes care of everything perfectly, totally respects your house, does everything above and beyond what your expectations have now become of contractors. And now how much more is that person going to stand out in your eyes to like talk up to friends and family or neighbors like, these guys just came and did work on my house, and I'm hard to please, and I've had people mess things up in my house, and these guys were actually like above and beyond even my standards. That referral with their friends and family that know that they're like that, like if Ricky gives me a referral now for something for my house, I know because I know him and I know his standards. Like, oh, these people must be legit.
Yeah,
like that referral is that much stronger than the person that, there's a percentage of people that don't care as much and just, they're going to be kind of happy with whatever happens. Their referral is still good, but it's not as good as the person that their immediate friends and family know this person's like anal.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Those are the customers you like really feel, I don't know. I try to make everybody happy and do a perfect install no matter what. But like if the person that like from the jump is already asking all the questions, like you impress them, like what's that gonna be?
Well, all the referrals you get from that person, they know that it's coming with like, I just got a referral from someone I trust. Like it's not say like you got the trust for that customer and then the customers beyond that customer. Like they already know. Like if I know like we just had that in a neighborhood where we had one guy where he's like, we had some break-ins. We're looking to get some safety film done. I think we were like the third company to give it a quote. And he was just letting us know like, hey, I'm the guy who does the research in the neighborhood. And then I kind of I let my name, and then we're all looking for safety film right now because I had a string of break-ins in a gated community. So it's like we, did our normal everyday sale and everything just because that's what we treat every customer like that. But we were able to win that bid. And then with how you guys went into his house and operated, you guys sealed the deal. When it came down to it, we ended up doing 5 more homes in that neighborhood because that guy gave us the referrals. And like not a single one of those clients, they didn't have any questions because they already asked him all the questions. They just said, come measure, well, let me see the colors. All right, I want that one. Let's do it on this day.
Oh, they even had neighbors come over while we were there.
Yeah. I remember being on that job.
Yeah, that happens pretty frequently, actually. And it's like, all right, this is awesome. Like, I mean, there's a reason why over half of our work is referral and repeat business. And I think a lot of shops out there that are being short-sighted and not focusing on quality could see a huge increase in their numbers just by making that little change.
It might cost you a little material to begin with, but the payoff in the long run is much greater.
Yeah, the customer acquisition cost for a referral is 0.
And they're willing to pay top dollar because they know that they don't have to worry about, all that other stuff. And that's I think super important. That's what we try to do when we're on the job. I try to make it as clean as possible, as professional as possible, and just make it as like make the customer feel like no, not like we're just there to do work, but that like we're there to do work for them. You know what I mean? Like make it.
We care about the quality. I'm sure it's the same with you. I mean, teaching kids class, man. Like you've got people's children. I've seen your kids classes. I've been to the kids classes at our gym, and like people are literally handing you their children for an hour, and like that's something to respect. And like the way you handle kids class is amazing. Like you should do it anyways, right? But like, and I know it feels good, but like if you take your kid to a gym and they're belittling them and not treating them right, and like how likely are you to continue going, and then how likely are you to refer your friends' kids to
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
not happen.
Yeah. And I feel like that's most of the jiu-jitsu, like business through you anyway. It's just like word of mouth and referrals, because it's kind of like intimidating to walk into a gym and just like not know anyone, not know anything, and be like, all right, I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu. Like it's pretty intimidating. It's not something that everyone does, you know. So it's very like having someone to introduce you, to bring you. Even then, it's tough to get people to come in, but it makes it a lot easier if you have someone that has been there and has a little bit of knowledge and can help you with all the little things, you know.
It makes it less intimidating for either the adult or the child if like you show up to class and one of your friends.
Oh yeah, so much easier.
Cool.
Jiu-jitsu is so much easier if you have someone to do it with.
I mean, that's how I ended up at Chris and My Lens. I've known Chris since 5th grade.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I went there. At the time, I actually lived like right next to 10th Planet Henderson, and listening to Rogan and knowing who Eddie Bravo was, I was pretty intrigued to go there, but I knew Chris and My Lens. I saw their stuff on social and was like, oh, I'm going to take the kids there.
Yeah, no brainer.
Yeah, no brainer. And then it just turned out I got lucky that I knew someone who's tied into Walter's whole community and system, and they're just amazing people all around. Like the whole Cascal Jiu-Jitsu Valley-wide is, you know, I feel comfortable going to any of your guys' gyms. And the cool thing is if you're a member at one, you can go to any of them.
Yeah.
So depending on the day of the week or where you're at, if, you know, I've gone to Walter's classes before. Yeah. So I've gone to Walter's classes a bunch of times, go to their open mat on Sunday. You can go to any of the open mats. You can go to any of them. So, and that whole community is a whole community. They'll come together once a year as everybody and do the major belt promotions in the park and have a whole like little barbecue for all the kids and everybody.
It's a pretty great network that Walter's created just over time.
Oh, he's
Pretty amazing, you know.
Matthew's ready to go, man. He's been asking to go. We like, do you want to play t-ball? You want to do soccer? No. You want to do jiu-jitsu? Yeah. Like, okay, I need to start getting off the time to take him.
Somebody. Nice. That's good, man. Yeah. Especially when they're excited for it.
I think Luca will be. I just have to have the right, obviously, right set and setting, and also I think I'm gonna have to do a class because how the timings go on Saturday again?
So 9 a.m. for the kids, and then adults is after at 10.
10. So obviously I'll take him first. I'll bait him with some YouTube shows.
There you go.
And usually if I can find something that will spike his interest in the route, that's usually.
Oh, let's plan it. I'll bring Matthew too, because then he'll know somebody.
There you go.
And he's ready to go. I'm constantly wrestling around with them in the living room, and I've been teaching him pretty early on. Like I'll like take his legs and get around his legs and like hold him down, like get your legs in, and he'll like just kind of pull guard. And now he naturally does it. I've seen him wrestling with Luca and Malix at like family events, and if they get on top of him, he already is like just gets his legs in and basically pulls guard and doesn't even realize it.
Nice. Yeah.
Like he knows he can keep him away with his legs.
Yeah, you'll see him naturally do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty cool. But that's jiu-jitsu is natural. You know, I think that's supposed to be doing anyways.
See, that frightens me as to when I start teaching my child this, because like every time that football's on, he wants to do football. I'm like, okay, which football for him is I'm just gonna run at you as hard as possible, and then I'm gonna go after your leg or your arm and start wailing on you. I'm like, it's not football, but it's cool as right now at the size you are, but as he's now getting every time he gets a little bit bigger, a little older, every time he actually hits me, I'm like, you're like, oh man, this is gonna suck in here. So we need to start calming this down. So no, I think that's probably a good spot. I would say to kind of wrap this up. The one thing we didn't do is, what's the name of your gym?
AE Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
And where are you located?
We're located off of Sunset and Spencer.
Spencer?
Yeah, so like we're right across the street from the airport. You can reach us on Instagram. It's AE.Jiu-Jitsu. Our website is aejujitsu.com. And yeah, you can Google, if you just Google us, AE Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can reach out that way as well. Like our contact info is on there as well. But yeah, that's the places to reach us at.
All right, before we wrap it up, I know we were talking about the fantasy league before I think we started recording, but we finally did a fantasy league in the shop this year, and I think you kind of actually pulled it all together, ended up being the commissioner, and then you rigged it somehow and won.
Yeah, I reluctantly.
We talking trades, stock trades that.
Listen here, I reluctantly I did not want to be the commissioner, but no one ever wants to be the commissioner. It's my first year being the commissioner ever in like fantasy football, but I thought it would be a good thing to do. I think it's builds camaraderie, you know, a little competition. I think it builds morale for the shop and all that good stuff. So I didn't rig it. I'm just the best. You know, it's not my fault that I'm the best, and I plan on hopefully winning next year. And
I really appreciate everything you brought to the shop, including that, because we've been talking about doing it forever, and the fact that you just kind of stepped up and like made it happen, it was amazing. It was a fun season this year, even though I don't pay attention.
It gets you into it a little bit more, you know.
No, it was really fun.
Honestly enough, that's the reason why I did it. Like, I was already, I think, in 4 leagues. I'm a moron. I have way too many leagues, but it's fun. I enjoy it. So, like, I've got a couple friends leagues that I have, and then I've got into a couple leagues that just are fun to be in, like a Bitcoin league. And then this last one, I got offered a spot in a gun league where the commissioner, he built custom guns. So, like, first place, we got a custom AR, which I was really going after that one. And then taking second in that one. It was a fun league. But I knew as soon as you guys came to the shop, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not to be, I say, too cocky. I was like, there's about 3, maybe 2 people in the league I have to technically worry about that actually pay attention, make certain moves, are actually going after trades, is where it's like, I knew you were going to be one of them. Thought Baker was going to be one of them.
You just had bad luck.
I lost Chubb and Barkley in League 2 and somehow eked my way back in traded for Christian McCaffrey, and he carried me all the way to the championship.
Talking about rigged trades, this guy.
Hey, that was a good trade. That was a good trade. All right, when it comes down to it. But no, we really appreciate you coming on. We appreciate all the dedication and hard work.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to learn and to grow under you guys. It's been a huge honor, and I'm so excited. You know, I've learned a skill that I'll have with me for the rest of my life, regardless if I pursue it or not. You know, I always will have this skill, and that's I wouldn't have that skill without you guys. So I really do appreciate everything you guys have taught me, and you guys giving me this opportunity to be a leader, to grow, and all that stuff. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys.
It's definitely been a fun journey so far. I'm excited to see where it goes, especially with the school part, because we're definitely gonna ramp that up, and you'll definitely be instructing. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
All right, everybody, you know how this works. Go ahead, hit subscribe, follow on our journey. We appreciate all the likes, the follows, all that. So just, keep it going. And then look forward to our next episode.
Yeah, no, definitely subscribe if you haven't. For those of you that have already and have been following along, we're not getting a ton of views, but I just want to put it out there that we really do appreciate the views and people that are following along already. Pretty big commitment to listen to something like this for an hour, and we really do appreciate everybody that's following along already. If you have been, please share it. If you're in the tint industry, share it. If you're in Vegas, share it with your network. We're trying to really kind of build the network and the community up and provide value, not only in the tint industry, but also here locally in Vegas, and give back as much as we can. So, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.